Most people assume that when search and rescue find someone, that's the end of the story. Person gets lost. Person gets found. Everyone goes home. I used to think that too. I've been a search and rescue officer for 9 years. I've pulled people off mountains in zero visibility. I've carried unconscious hikers through rivers at 2 a.m. I've talked people down from ledges when their legs stopped working from fear. But in 9 years, nobody ever told me about the protocol. Not in the manual. Not in training. Not in any official briefing. The protocol that says, sometimes, when we find someone in the deep woods, we don't bring them back. And last week I finally understood why that protocol exists. When you've been in SAR long enough, you start to notice patterns. Most missing persons cases follow a logic. Hiker takes wrong trail. Hiker gets disoriented. Hiker finds water source and follows it downhill. Predictable. Findable. Safe. But there is another category. Cases that don't follow any logic. Cases where the person is found miles from where they went missing, with no explanation for how they got there. Cases where the dogs refuse to track. Cases where experienced searchers get turned around in terrain they know perfectly. Miller called these the gray cases. Miller was my senior officer. 20 years in the field. A man who measured his words like he was rationing water in a desert. He sat me down after my 3rd month on the job. He put a coffee on the table between us and he didn't touch it. Some people who go missing in these woods, he said, don't get lost. They get taken. I waited. And when something takes them, he said, it doesn't always take them all the way. He finally picked up his coffee. When you find someone in a gray case, you look at their eyes first. Before you say anything. Before you touch them. If their eyes track you when you move, they're fine. Bring them home. If their eyes don't move. He stopped. If their eyes don't move, you radio it in as a recovery. You leave them where you found them. And you walk away. I stared at him. You're telling me to leave a living person in the woods. He looked at me for a long time. I'm telling you that what you found isn't always a person anymore. For 6 years I never encountered a gray case. I told myself Miller was burned out. Too many years in the field. Too many hard cases messing with his head. Then came the call about Sarah Okafor. 34 years old. Experienced hiker. Solo trip into the backcountry. Missed her check-in call on a Friday evening. By Saturday morning we had a full team deployed. The search went wrong from the beginning. The dogs picked up her scent at the trailhead and followed it north for about 2 miles. Then they stopped. All 4 of them at exactly the same point on the trail. Sitting down. Heads low. Refusing to move forward. The handlers had never seen anything like it. Not 1 dog. Not 2. All 4. Same spot. Same reaction. We swept the area on foot. I was assigned the eastern ridge. Dense forest. Old-growth trees so thick the canopy blocked most of the afternoon light. At 4:15 p.m. I found her. Sarah Okafor was sitting at the base of a large oak tree. Upright. Back straight. Hands folded neatly in her lap. Her gear was beside her. Pack, water bottle, hiking poles. All of it arranged in a perfectly straight line next to her. Too neat. Nobody arranges their gear like that after being lost for 20 hours in the backcountry. Sarah. My voice came out quieter than I intended. She didn't respond. I moved left. About 4 feet. Slowly. I remembered what Miller told me. Watch the eyes first. Her eyes didn't move. They were open. Fixed on a point directly ahead of her. Not blinking at the rate a person blinks. Not tracking the light. Not tracking me. I moved right. 6 feet the other direction. Her eyes stayed exactly where they were. My radio felt very heavy on my hip. I stood there for a long time. Everything in my training said, approach, assess, stabilize, evacuate. Everything Miller had told me said something different. I took one step toward her. The temperature dropped. Not gradually. Instantly. Like stepping into a freezer. My breath appeared in the air in front of me. Sarah's didn't. I stopped walking. She was sitting 10 feet away from me in the same cold air. And she was not breathing. But she was not dead. Her color was normal. Her posture was perfect. Her hands were still folded neatly. She blinked. Once. Slow. Like a mechanism completing a cycle. Then she spoke. You came. Her voice was wrong. Not wrong like someone in shock. Not wrong like someone dehydrated and exhausted. Wrong like the voice was arriving from somewhere far away and her mouth was just the last stop. We were wondering when they'd send someone. I did not move. Sarah, I said carefully. I'm with search and rescue. Can you tell me if you're hurt? She smiled. It was the most frightening thing I have ever seen in 9 years of this job. Because the smile was perfect. Every muscle in exactly the right position. Like something had studied 10,000 photographs of human smiles and reproduced one from memory. I'm not hurt, she said. I'm ready to come home now. I radioed it in. Not as a rescue. Not as a recovery. I used the code Miller had given me on my first week. A code I had never used before. A code that wasn't in any official manual. Miller's voice came back immediately. Calm. Flat. Like he had been waiting for this call for years. Eyes? Not tracking, I said. Silence on the radio for 8 full seconds. Walk away, Miller said. Do not touch her. Do not speak to her again. Walk away and do not look back. I looked at Sarah Okafor sitting at the base of that tree. Still smiling. Still watching the fixed point ahead of her. What happens to her? I asked. Miller didn't answer for a long time. Whatever took her will come back for what's left, he finally said. It always does. But if you bring that back with you. Walk away. I walked away. I didn't look back. We filed the report as a failed search. No trace found. Case open. Sarah Okafor's family still calls the department every week. I don't take those calls. But here is what I cannot stop thinking about. 3 days after I left her in those woods. Sarah Okafor walked out of the forest on her own. She was found on the highway 2 miles from the trailhead. Perfectly fine. Perfectly healthy. No memory of the previous 24 hours. She's back home now. Back at work. Back to her normal life. But her husband called the department last week. Not to complain. Not to ask questions. He called because he wanted to report something strange. Every night at 3 a.m. Sarah gets up. She walks to the living room window. And she stands there until sunrise. Facing the tree line. Not moving. Not blinking at the rate a person blinks. He said she doesn't remember doing it in the morning. He said she seems completely normal during the day. He said the only thing that's different is her eyes. He can't explain it. He just said they don't look the same as before. Like something behind them is looking out. If you go hiking this weekend, and search and rescue has to come find you, pay attention to how they look at you when they arrive. If they seem relieved, you're fine. If they go very quiet, and reach for their radio, don't follow them. Because the person they're calling isn't coming to help you. Have you ever felt like something in the woods was watching you? Tell me in the comments. Subscribe to the Midnight Files. Some doors are better left closed.